Welcome everyone, I'm Rod and this is the Stay Strong Live Long channel. Welcome to all the carnivores. It is, what time is it? 10 o'clock here in Sydney, in Australia, down under on Tuesday. It's around 4 p.m. in Alaska. If you're tuning in from there, it's somewhere around 7 or 8. So I think it's between like 6 and 9 or 10 if you're in the United States. Thanks for tuning in. If you've tuned in from the UK, it's going to be really early in the morning. If you've done that, thank you so much for tuning in. Andre, wasn't it with Alaska Build tonight? Yes, it was. And I'm a little gutted. Bill had something come up unexpectedly and we had to cancel his live stream at the last minute, unfortunately. But we're going to reschedule and it's probably going to be something even better because we may have other couple of creators, a couple of other carnivores on the live stream at the same time. So if you were tuning in to see Bill, he does send his apologies. Something came up and we had to cancel last minute. Nobody likes to do that, but you know, life does happen sometimes. Copper's Kitchen, Melitza, hello to you. I know you're tuning in from Alaska. Perfect time for you, really, isn't it? But the weather's nice and cold there. Susan from South Carolina, thanks for tuning in. Another very supportive fan of the channel. You were worried about worried about Susan. Tracy from South Texas, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I think you're a recent subscriber, if I recall. I think you've been commenting on a few videos. Appreciate that. Kitty from Australia. Which part of Australia are you from, Kitty? You from Sydney as well, or somewhere else? All right. So today's all about the carnivore diet, and I'm interested in knowing what sort of challenges you've got. I mean, obviously say hi, I'll give you a shout out. If you've got a question, just in case things get a bit crazy, if you put a Q in front of it, then I'll be able to mark that and we can come back to that particular question. I'll just go through a few of those. Yeah, Bill's okay. That dude has got a lot going on. He's gone from 0 to 5,000 in the space of a few weeks. Not only has he completely changed the way he's eating with the carnivore, but he's also got all of this other stuff that's going on with his new YouTube channel, etc. You know, so sometimes you just got to take a little bit of a break, but he'll be back stronger than ever. Chess's Adventures, hello. Thanks for tuning in. Kimmy Renee Williams, hopefully I got that pronunciation right. Hello, thanks for tuning in as well. Appreciate that. So on the weekend, I had, I don't know whether you call it, well, not really a slip. One of the areas, so let me just back up a little bit. So I've spoken about cravings for sweet things in the past, and I'm happy to report that that has gone. It took a good couple of months, and it just sort of, I don't know if it happened overnight, but it felt like it almost happened overnight, where I went from where every time I went to the grocery store, I'd be having to like stop myself from buying something sweet, you know, something artificially sweetened usually, to the point where I can go and it's just not there anymore. It's like, I don't know, I've never actually been addicted to anything except for sweet food, I have to admit. But, you know, any other sort of substance abuse or anything like that. And I don't know whether that's what it's like, where you just suddenly get to the point where it's just not there anymore. Like smoking addiction, for example. I've never smoked, so I don't know. But I imagine that it's something that's always in the background. But anyway, all of a sudden, it's not there. And some of the things that have helped, especially some people have suggested butter, cream, tallow, you know, anything sort of fatty when the sweetness addiction comes. And that's really handy at night time, especially if I've eaten fairly early, like if I've finished eating about 6 o'clock. But there's just something about the general sweetness and wanting something sweet addiction that's just gone, which is, I'm super happy about that, because it really did feel like that was something that was controlling. You know how it is when you feel like you're controlled by food and not the other way around, instead of you controlling food. So I'm super happy about that. And although I didn't have much in the way of weight to lose, I've suddenly, my body's gotten heaps leaner, and 4 or 5 kilograms has disappeared in the last couple of weeks, which I'm also happy about. You know, I like feeling fitter and looking fitter, so that's cool. Yeah, thanks, Kimmy Renee Williams. If you do like the content I've been producing, and yeah, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that as well. So as far as what's been happening, thank you to all those people who have been watching my content. I think the last video I produced was the carnivore brisket bites, which is a complete fabrication on my part. I just made them up. Some inspiration from Anita from Ketogenic Woman. I don't know if she's going to tune in today, but if you do watch this even on the replay, I think some of her recipes sort of gave me the idea. I thought, well, if you have brisket, which is a pretty tough cut of meat, right? But it's pretty cheap. Here in Australia, it's $14.99 per kilo to buy brisket at Aldi, which is pretty inexpensive. But it's a part that is used by the animal, right? So it's fairly tough. So I thought, well, how can I make it so that I can make this tender and sort of tasty, crunchy? A little bit of inspiration from Michaela Peterson's, you know, crunchy things she talks about. Anyway, so I think it turned out okay. The only thing I would change, as I mentioned in the video, was to add a bit more seasoning. I typically, it's a fairly sort of, I don't know, flavorless cut of meat, because it, I don't know how to describe it. It's quite different to steak, but I think adding in a bit of garlic powder and onion powder and perhaps a bit more salt would have been a better result. But still pretty happy. Kids ate some of it, and I chowed down on loads of it as well. Yes, we do love Anita. I was interesting watching her. I don't know if any of you subscribe to Ketogenic Woman, but if you don't, definitely check out her channel. I watched one of her very early videos, and it's pretty interesting to see how some content creators start. It was you could hear her voice, but the video was all blurry. You couldn't really see very well what she was doing. And I think she herself mentioned that she, even prior to then, she had videos where there was just no voiceover at all. There was just hands doing stuff. And now when you look at, you know, it's quite a production that she has now, and it's very polished and professional, which is interesting to see. I've certainly learned a lot. Just I shoot all my videos on an iPhone 10, and that's except this particular one is an exception. When the live streams, I have a nicer camera, but you know, when you're doing stuff in the kitchen, it's got to be quick. So if any of you are thinking about recording videos, I know that Melissa from Copper's Kitchen is thinking about doing something. I just try and keep it simple. I have what's called a Gorillapod, which allows me to mount the camera anywhere, and then it's just running and gunning, as they say in the movie world. To just shoot quickly and take lots of different takes, so you can switch angles if you can. And basically now, as I cook something, I just go, okay, just set the camera up, record, and it allows for a pretty easy production of content as well. So who have we got tuning in? We've got who do I see here? Chess's Adventures. Not sure if I already said hi. Hi, thanks for tuning in. I'm hungry. So am I a little bit, actually. We got Shane and Amy is tuned in. Thanks for tuning in, guys. So those of you who have not watched the latest video from Kerry at Homestead How, if you haven't, then you definitely should. Shane and Amy were featured, and they are both completely blind. And what's really cool for me is to see how much they've kind of blossomed in this online world just in the past couple of weeks. I gave them a hand just to set their, you know, getting their channel going, and you guys are going to be absolute rock stars in the carnivore world. So it was really good to see you getting covered by Kerry, and a lot of people are supporting the channel, which is also really cool. So thanks to all the community. You're all great bunch of people supporting fellow carnivores. So, question here from Tracy. My father is very worried about my carnivore way of eating. I'm 3 years in, and he thinks I have an eating disorder. How do I explain this to him? Wow. So you're 3 years in. Yeah. So, well, I guess what are his specific concerns would be my first question, Tracy. Like, does he have the usual concerns, which is what about your cholesterol, or is it that some people say, okay, how is your kidney going to cope with processing all of that protein? These are some of the common myths that I hear people talking about. So I'm interested in what his specific concern is. And I guess then you could address that. But at the same time, like, he's your dad, he's worried about your health. And he's like most of us conditioned to decades and decades of misinformation about, a high fat, high protein diet without eating any vegetables and plants, basically. So, yeah, I'd be interested to see what his concerns are. There's someone else here. Annabella, I know you've been doing it tough. So, yeah, it's things can get tough. I know, just in life in general, and I've noticed it on a couple of your comments that you're doing it a bit tough, and I'd say that just hang in there. Just take it one day at a time. It's great that you go and see your counsellor, get a different perspective, and sometimes just sort of be with whatever's going on for a little while, and I guarantee it will transform. Absolutely. Tracy, just a follow up. So he's got kidney problems, and his doctor said no meats. Yeah, that's pretty standard advice from a lot of medical doctors, and I would say this is where it's good to lean on other medical doctors as well, to say, well, okay, well, that's what one medical doctor said, and how much actual nutrition training has your doctor done? Has he done the standard 2 or 3 weeks that's required for someone to pass their exams? And then perhaps there's some video. I think that Dr. Ken Berry has got videos associated with kidney function. I know that Dr. Kiltz has. Dr. Chafee, I think, covers that, and he likes to quote a lot of different studies. So I'd say, well, I appreciate that, Dad, but here's what these doctors say. And especially with people like Dr. Kerry, Dr. Chafee, then you've got thousands of testimonials, right? Thousands of people who have been eating this way for a very long time, and many of them are also posting their blood work. So if you look at, let's see, Laura Spath, I think she's recently just posted her blood work results. You can have a look at that. She's been on carnivore for like 5 or 6 years. You've also got, I just look at that. If you search on YouTube for carnivore and then blood work, you'll get a lot of people coming up, and that's some other things you can look at. But really, just go back to all the Sean Baker, Dr. Sean Baker. They've all got their medical license. They're all still practicing GPs. I think Sean Baker not so much, but that's you could just pull up a couple of videos and say, well, hey, Dad, this is actually this is what these doctors say, and I've watched literally tens or hundreds or however many people talk about what their results are. So I want you to stop worrying about it and just realize that a lot of the information that's put out by mainstream media, etc., is really, really out of date, and it's really not true at all. Okay, so a question here from Copper's Kitchen. Put your notes, the equipment you just spoke about, in the notes, please. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'll just make a note of that. So equipment, I will. Yeah, 2 pieces of equipment that I use: my phone and something to mount your phone on. That's the 2. Alrighty. So I like this actually, Annabella the Happy Carnivore. I think you've recently changed your name. I like that. It's got a bit more. It's got me a bit. I like the way that rhymes actually. Eating beef and fat right now. Yeah. I think I forget her name now. It's going to come back to me. Something you're talking about increasing your fat when there's when you're feeling a bit sort of low. There's something about increasing fat which helps with that. Who else have we got here? Alrighty. Okay, I think I've caught up with everyone. I'm really pleased with how many people are actually tuning in, so thanks for that, guys. I've got a couple of quotes I like. This one from Winston Churchill: "If you're going through hell, keep going." That's a good one. Albert Einstein said, "Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving." And Thomas Edison, inventor of the light bulb: "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." And one more Calvin Coolidge. This is a pretty long one. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men and women with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. I like that one too. Annabella, bye. Good luck. Hope that goes well. Keep us up to date with how things are going. Hang in there. All right, hang on. Let's go back. Susan, I'm going to back up and find it. Heartburn on Carnivore. Where are we? Went too far. Okay. I can't find the question, but you're talking about heartburn on Carnivore. So you are getting heartburn on Carnivore, I assume. If I could find your question there, ripping by. Okay, because I do get heartburn sometimes too. I wouldn't say it was a common thing. It was actually something I used to get before. I used, if I ate bread, sometimes if I ate a piece of steak, but particularly when I was hungry, I would get heartburn. That's like that rising, you could feel the acid rising up. And I've had it at one time really nasty. I had to go to emergency. I just couldn't shake it, and ended up going in the ambulance to the emergency room, and we were on holidays at the time. My wife was super happy about that. But as far as what you do, I don't actually have any solutions for that. I have found that the heartburn has lessened a huge amount when I switched to carnivore. And I would say every now and again, if I eat something and there's no particular rhyme or reason, you get that feeling, you know that it's coming, and then I just have like one of Rennie or one of those, bicarbonate, Gaviscon, one of those, and that pretty much kills it. Sometimes it's because I've eaten something too quickly, like particularly if I'm hungry and I've just kind of wolfed it down. I think there's something about when you chew your food a little bit more, it kind of like gets those juices going, and it allows a bit of time for your stomach to sort itself out. And I also think that the condition itself is to do with that. It's kind of a sphincter in your stomach that holds in stomach acid, and that, once again, I'm not a medical doctor, so this is not medical advice. That it doesn't function properly, and I think that's related to a long time of eating really fiber-rich diets, that sort of thing. So I'm hoping that in my case that it's just that it's healing, but it takes time, and maybe that's the case for you. If it's not a common thing, or if you're finding that's improving, I would consider that to be a good sign and just allow things to continue to heal. Apple cider vinegar. I've heard that mentioned by Dr. Kinberry as well as something that helps with heartburn. And I know when he mentioned it, he used to always have a bottle, on the shelf, and then eventually got to the point where he just didn't need it anymore. There's definitely a video. Dr. Kinberry did one about that apple cider vinegar for sure. Black pepper. Never heard of one. I don't actually use pepper on my meals, so that's interesting. So you can't do that, Melissa, because it gives you heartburn? Is that what that is? Interesting. Yeah. All right, cool. So what else has been going on? Oh, right. So I wanted to get into, I don't know if any of you have difficulties at social occasions. Now, I've spoken about this on one of my videos, but not this particular aspect. Socially drinking, right? I don't drink very often. Sometimes I'll go a couple of weeks. I don't consume any alcohol at all. There was a time in my life where I would drink something every day. Managed to stop doing that by replacing it with non-alcoholic, and then just stopped altogether. But this past weekend, they had a social occasion with a couple of friends that I hadn't seen for quite some time. The whole family that was there, and we ended up drinking quite a bit. Wasn't rolling drunk, but certainly had a lot to drink. And I was reminded of how the toll that alcohol takes on your body when you've got to process it. So the next day, my nose was completely stuffed up, and I guess the thing is, it was easy to get a little bit carried away. So it's like I've conquered sweet things, but there's the social aspect, and getting a bit tipsy by having a couple of drinks with friends is a pretty hard one to deal with. And there was some fallout the next day and possibly the day after, especially to do with how it impacted my sleep. But I'm just being more of an observer rather than sort of judging myself for doing that at this point. And I certainly could have drunk less, that's for sure, than what I did. She could have said, okay, I'll just just give me half of one or do that. But I think it's like anything. There's these ingrained habits when it comes to socializing. I don't know whether any of you have that sort of thing where you're pretty strict about the way that you eat, but then when a social occasion comes along, perhaps you end up having a few drinks where you didn't really want to, or there's something that you're trying to minimize. Or do you go, well, I haven't had anything for a couple of weeks and I'm cool with that, And like I said, I'm not judging myself or anyone else. I'm just interested in whether that's a challenge for any of you or not. Tracy, yeah, alcohol free for 2 years. Way to go. I've got to actually, you just reminded me, I have a friend who had to cold turkey because she was alcoholic, and yeah, she's just gone a year. And we hang out, we socialize. A lot of the time we don't, as in when I say we, I mean my wife and I and the rest of the family, we don't have anything alcoholic to drink out of respect for her because she's a recovering alcoholic. And so that sort of almost makes it easy in a way, because we know, okay, well, we're hanging out with Miss M, so we're not going to have anything at all, even though it's a social thing. And then other times we might just have one glass of wine or something like that. But it's certainly easier with somebody who doesn't drink versus if you're hanging out with some other people who regularly have a few drinks. Like if you catch up at a weekend, you haven't seen them for a few months, then yeah, that can be a bit more challenging. Susan, no alcohol in 40 years. That's so you definitely don't miss it. You don't have any reason to go back. That's yeah. Most who fail are also drinkers. Yeah. So you mean most who fail with the carnivore diet, Andre? Is that what you're meaning there? Interested to know about that. So that was one thing that occurred this weekend, which is I guess something to work on. I was going to talk about what I've got coming up as far as videos. I shot a few yesterday. I've just got to finish doing the edits. One was perfect boiled eggs. I've got the perfect boiled egg recipe, and I'll be posting it as a YouTube short. Does anyone there like boiled eggs? I eat them all the time. They're especially great for the kids because they like them. Although I can't get them to eat their yolks. They still will only eat the whites, the little rat bags. So Dad ends up eating the yolks from the eggs. Now, did I make the meatloaf? No, I have not made the meatloaf. Copper's Kitchen, well, it's sent me a meatloaf recipe. Not yet. It was 3 and 5 year olds trying to pin them down to do anything much out of the ordinary is a challenge. But I'm keeping it on the back burner, and I've never actually made meatloaf, so my plan is to make meatloaf. And I only have the kids around usually on the weekends anyway, and sometimes it just gets absolutely mad trying to pin them down. Yeah, the yolk is the best bit. I agree. I'd rather eat the yolk than the white. And I actually experimented with cooking them for different times, so I'll have, and then showed what the consistency of the yolk was like depending on the length of time. But I feel like I've got it down to a fine art now, so I'm looking forward to posting that one up. What else did I do? There was another one. It was lamb. I think it was lamb chump chops. I'm still going through the bunch of lamb that I bought from the Conscious Farmer, because it was, it was probably about 20 kilos of lamb. Anyway, yeah, lamb chump chops. They were absolutely delicious, and I ended up pressure cooking those, so I'll have a recipe for that one online soon as well. So what other challenges are you having? How are you going sticking to the diet? I know some of you are like long timers, you've got no plans to change at all. I definitely don't have any plans to change. The thing that I would not want to go back on is, firstly, it's I didn't know that I had brain fog, but there were times where I would have, was not very sharp. And I really noticed that being alert and brain functioning at peak capacity is something that just sort of goes all day, which is pretty rare. So I definitely want to go back on that. I have found that the sciatica has been a lot better. Getting rid of the absolute addiction to sweet flavors and sweet things, I wouldn't want to go back on that. I didn't think that was actually much of a big problem for me, but wow, when that's something that you don't have rule your life anymore, I just couldn't go back on that, even if I wanted to. Just ordered some lamb. yeah, it was the minimum amount that I could get was like a half a lamb. So I hope you enjoy that, Natalie. Susan, so 20 years as a carnivore. That's amazing. Has that always been carnivore, Susan, or did you start out keto? I'm not sure you might have mentioned that in one of your comments. You probably did. But I'd be interested to know. Yeah, okay. What else have I been shooting? I don't know. Is there anything in particular that you would like to see? I'm always keen to try out new recipes. So what's your favorite thing that you make that's super easy and it's always super tasty and it's something that you could eat every week, a couple of times a week, or you have been doing it for ages and you just don't see that you're going to be stopping? Like what meat dish? I'm keen on getting some new ideas so I can try some new things out. For me, bacon and eggs is an absolute. I've been having it every day since I started, and I've got no plans to stop. I really like rissoles as well, which is a YouTube short on my channel. Chicken nuggets. I tried those a couple of times. Hello, Kitty, and yeah, they're okay, I guess. And the kids do like them as well. The only thing that whenever I think about monogastrics, so chickens, pork as well, I think about because the monogastrics means they've only got one stomach like we do. And I haven't done a lot of research yet, but the little bit that I have done is that the cows and sheep which have got multiple stomachs, which I forget the name of, that name of that thing that they have, multiple stomachs, is ruminants. There you go, ruminants. So ruminants have multiple stomachs, and that actually filters out a lot of the things that get ingested by animals, pesticides, toxins, etc. And I feel like, as far as like for your overall health, that it's better to eat more of the ruminants. So that's what I generally think about when I think about eating chicken. So as a result, I tend to eat less of it, but it is a really useful dish. And if you're on a pretty strict budget, then you can't beat pork and chicken as far as price goes. So that's the other aspect as well. But I like to throw in. I occasionally buy chicken mince, make the nuggets. I make them with mozzarella and chicken mince, and that's it, and some seasoning, and you can fry them or you can air fry them. Is that how you do it? Let's see, Tracy. You got a personal trainer for your birthday. Sore and nauseous. My son's trained with me this morning, and the 13-year-old, he said he was feeling a bit nauseous. Actually, he hasn't trained with me for a number of weeks. There's like this adjustment period that your body can go through when you've got someone that you're training with, because it's easy to slack off when you're just by yourself. It takes a lot of discipline to push yourself to the point where that's actually good for your body. So hang in there. Ribeye steaks. Natalie, now you got me thinking. I haven't had a ribeye steak. Have I? not for ages. The thing is, there's so many options, isn't there? It's like a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people. Oh, that must be boring, just eating meat only. But my God, there's so many options. I haven't even had ribeye steak yet, and I've been doing this for what 2.5 months nearly, because there's so many other different steaks. I've got to try a ribeye out, give it a go. Susan, you've been keto 5 years, carnivore 2 months. Cool. And you're a kindergarten teacher assistant. You're a hero. I can't imagine. It must be challenging working with kindergarten kids. Flanking beef ribs quick in the air fryer. See, I haven't done beef ribs either. There's another option. Thanks for that, Melissa. Yeah, ribeye steak. Here's a question from Georgia. Has anyone had egg intolerance that resolve? I love eggs, but they hate me. Yeah, so what happens? Do you get hives or itchy or something like that? I think a lot of the time, sometimes. So is it really an intolerance? Do you actually have an allergy? Because if you do, then, maybe you just need to avoid them for a while. When you get an actual allergy test, it's like a prick test. So they actually have part of the egg in the little syringe, and they inject it under your skin, and then you see later whether that actually causes inflammation or not. That's the way to tell if you have an allergy. Whereas those other tests that they do, that's not a proper allergy test. So just make sure that that's what you're doing, if that's how you figured it out, or if there's something else going on. Maybe you just need to avoid them for a little while and see if they come back. Yeah, pork crumbs, eggs, and fatty chicken mince, pan fried a little bit, bake them. Yeah, that sounds really good, actually. Tracy, you had 2 ribeyes. Nice one. What size is the average ribeye that you like to do? Yeah, that's a good point, Natalie. That's what I'm aiming to do, and there's just limited. Certainly, I go for the free range eggs, and that's 100% there. Now, as far as chicken goes, because I like to shop, I'm on a fairly strict budget, so therefore I like to shop at Aldi, and they have got limited options there as far as chicken mince goes. There's only really one different version, and I know that if I went to Woolies or Coles, I could get free range chicken. So it's a toss up between, okay, do I buy this because I know this has been raised in a better way, or I've just got to make sure that I can feed everyone this week and do that. And I think sometimes there's not always a perfect choice, but yeah, it's definitely with the eggs for sure. Always try to go free range. I'm at the point now, if all there is cage eggs, I won't buy them. I'll just have to wait or go and get them from somewhere else. So I'd kind of have drawn a line in the sand as far as that goes. Yeah, lots of people love eggs. Hannah's girl, welcome. Hello from Sydney, across the other side. Which suburb are you in? I'm in Hillsdale, in the Bronx, in the eastern suburbs. Yeah, not an allergy. I think we were talking about the eggs. Yeah, yeah. Maybe. Oh, the other thing you could try is separate the yolks and the whites as well. Just see, some people don't really stomach one or the other for whatever reason, and I've heard some people say, this is Kelly, who's the My Zero Carb Life, Kelly Hogan. That's her. I know that she doesn't really do the whites. She doesn't like them, or they just don't agree with it, so she gives them to her husband, and then she just eats the yolks. So maybe you could try that. See how that goes. Yeah, I completely agree, Natalie. I think that you've at least made some steps forward, because if we don't support those who are producing animal products in a more sustainable way, then they're just not going to be able to get any sort of scale. Then we're sort of not going to be able to make any progress. I'd like to think that if we are eating animal products, that we're doing that in a way that's sustainable, that's humane, that considers animal welfare as well. I absolutely agree. Never bought ribeye steak before carnivore because of the cost. Yeah, great. All right. Well, I haven't finished the video yet, but I bought a sous vide. I mentioned this. It cost me about $80. So sous vide allows you to cook steaks in a bag, basically, in water. And I did actually have a go at it, but I cooked it at 60 degrees centigrade, which is, I don't know what that is Fahrenheit. I have to look it up. Anyway, I ended up with a very well done steak, which was still pretty good. And then I seared it, but it was way more well done than I wanted it to be. So I'm going to have another go, and this time cook it at about 54 degrees and, see what sort of result I get from that. Country Meat Direct delivers grass-fed beef packs in Sydney. Yeah, I'll definitely check them out. Thanks for that. Yeah, the Conscious Farm was really good in Sydney, but I had to wait. They only have like a monthly schedule because they have everything delivered directly from them. And yeah, it's good to know that there's another option. There's another one as well that my wife told me about, which does also chicken and pork. And the name escapes me, but I'll think of it. That's interesting. Nothing on the planet is sustainable. Would you care to expand on that a little bit, Andre, as to what you mean there? I'm always curious about other different points of view and having discussions and learning something new, if I can. So, well, I've had a few ideas for what to eat. What sort of challenge? What's the hardest thing about doing carnivore, particularly for those who have started? What's the challenge that you have? Because when I did a survey on my channel in the community post, I gave 4 options. What would you like to see more of? One was recipes, and that ranked fairly high. Another was how to integrate the carnivore lifestyle into your life. That was even more popular. And then discussions about biochemistry, insulin, that sort of thing was sort of a bit further down the list. So, I'm interested in what are the challenges that you have, which maybe you have answers for those challenges already, or maybe you don't. It's just a challenge that that you're dealing with, but you haven't really kind of figured out a solution for it. Yeah, coffee. Do you feel like you need to give up coffee, Melissa? I know I'm drinking a cup of coffee right now, which has got butter in it. And I think about it, this is the second one today. So I've cut back from 3 down to 2. And especially when I tuned into Dr. Kiltz's live stream yesterday. And, he talks a lot about plants are trying to kill you, which is something that Dr. Chafee says. And that's anything that comes from plants, which includes coffee, etc. And, maybe I should try actually going without, but I really don't want to. And I find that it's no difference one way or the other. So, yeah. I'm interested in why. Why? I know you gave it up for a month, but is it because you just want to see whether your life will be better without it? Or is it because you don't, it's, caffeine's an addictive substance. So is it because you don't like having that sort of need to consume at least a cup or so a day? Question from Natalie. Are you eating organ meat too? No. Now, this is a question that does come up quite a bit. I'm not a fan of liver, but I had it for dinner tonight due to how nutritious it is, but I do like harder, slice it, fry it like a steak. It's not bad at all. Yeah, look, I would say that, once again, I refer back to Kelly Hogan, My Zero Carb Life. This is a question that came up, and I like the way that she put it, is that if you like organ meats, you should eat them, right? If you enjoy eating them, then go for it. I haven't seen any evidence to say that it's necessary, and a couple of examples would be, as far as long-time carnivores, Jordan Peterson and his daughter Michaela. I know that Kelly Hogan from My Zero Carb Life, she's been 13 years, I think, and she doesn't do organ meat. So I think that if you have but she did actually, I'm pretty sure that she did have for liver when she was pregnant. So if you enjoy it and you have your body sort of saying, yeah, I want that, then go for it. And I think it's one of those things where, like a lot of things, you can't sort of say, okay, well, this is the must-have for everybody. This is something that you need, but you over here, you might not need that. And me personally, I remember having a liver when I was a kid. Mum and dad used to sometimes do liver and also kidney, and I just always hated it. I just like, oh, just gag it down. And so for that reason, I don't have any plans to eat anything like that. And maybe one day I'll try to go, oh, this is actually really good, but I wouldn't say that it was something that was absolutely necessary. And I know that it's very nutritious, but the science is still catching up. When you go on a very low inflammatory diet, then all of the requirements for vitamins and minerals that are all based on the standard American or the standard Australian diet, that all goes out the window, because what are the requirements when you don't have very much, when you have zero or very little inflammation in your body? I think it's quite different. And you only have to look at some of the really long-term carnivores to see that many of them a lot of them sort of have almost gone completely lion, and then all they just do is they eat steaks all day, steak and water, and sometimes and salt as well. Even someone like Dr. Chafee, I think he's just gone just steak only now, and no, not even salt, which is interesting. Yeah, that's supposed. Okay, so there's this word supposed. Sometimes I see this come up, and I think that you've really just got to do what works for you. I think that if you can, as a first step, for me, what carnivore is all about is first and foremost, it's eliminating processed food out of your diet. So if you can eliminate processed food out of your diet, but you still have some fruit, some veggies, you eat a lot more meat as a result, go for it. If it works for you, then you should go for that. I don't think that we have to say, okay, well, because you're doing that means you're not carnivore. Well, it's just a label, isn't it, really? So yes, if you're doing a strict carnivore lifestyle, carnivore diet, I hate that word diet, then yeah, you'd be giving up all plants as a means of finding out whether you've got some intolerances there. But if you feel fine either way, well then, who says you have to? Nobody says you have to. You've just got to do what works for you. All right. I'm just going to go back a little bit because the comments are ripping by here. Georgia, cold brew coffee. I can't imagine giving up. Yeah, if you can't, and it's still, everything's fine, then you don't need to. Susan, yeah, I used to do the coffee with the stevia as well, and having the stevia was one of those things that was stopping me from not craving sweet stuff. Yeah, it was a trap for me. So I'm happy for you that you can include that. I used to find that if I had the sweetener in the coffee, then even though I know it has zero impact on your insulin, it causes no spike in glucose or anything. So from that perspective, it's great. But I just found psychologically it was something that I had to get rid of, and maybe and as a result now I can have something sweet, and if it's just a one-off, then I don't sort of fall off the wagon, so to speak, and feel like I need to go and consume a whole tub of ice cream after that. Yeah, so coffee for you, well, it's yeah. Sometimes we have these things that are psychological habits, and you just want to know, can you break that? Are you actually is it something that controls you, or is it something that you can control? I think that's sort of part. I can relate to that idea as well. Coca-Cola, Natalie. Yeah, I used to do Coca-Cola, the sugary one, and also, the Cadbury chocolate. Boom, both those together. Half a block of that family Cadbury chocolate with the Coca-Cola. Yeah, I wouldn't say I did that for years, but definitely it was quite habitual, at least once a week, for sure. Yeah, I do that. I find a tablespoon of butter. That's a pretty decent amount. That must be nice. I usually go like about a teaspoon, and I find that actually works for me. But yeah, you do you. Whatever works for you, Susan. Whatever keeps you on track. One hour at a time for coffee. Yeah, I did try it a couple of weeks ago, and I lasted 2 days, and then I got to the point where it's like, no, I don't want to give it up. So I'm getting it back. But having said that, I've gone back to 3, back to 2. Now I'm thinking I could go 2 back to 1, see what happens. No plans to eat organ meats. Yep. If you like it, then yeah, I think that there's no disputing that there is a truckload of nutrients in organ meat. And yep, if you can stomach it, absolutely. I think it's a great thing, and I'm almost jealous in a way that you can stomach it. I think of the two, liver is probably easier, like especially liver with bacon. That would probably be more manageable. Just the texture of kidney was one that I just couldn't do. And I've never tried any of the others, actually. Never tried heart or any of those other ones. So what is Piano Meats? Is that like a supplier? Never actually heard of that one before. You heard stevia was poison. Who told you that, Andre? I'm always I'm always interested in hearing where people get this from. Now, do you mean as just as a rumor, or did you actually read a study about how stevia was poisonous? I mean, consider the fact that stevia is very widespread in Japan. You know, if you say stevia was poison, well, maybe when you talk about it from the context of, yes, it does come from a plant, and some plant chemicals some people don't tolerate well at all. Well, I think that's really what it comes down to. If you have something and you find that it upsets your stomach or it causes you to feel a certain way, then maybe avoid it. But I don't know whether, as a general rule, it's poisonous. But I'm always open to new ideas and evidence. I like to follow the evidence. So if there's something that's concludes that, and it's something that appears to be reputable, then yeah, let's have the evidence. Yeah, it's a hard one to give up. I found that switching, just taking out the stevia and then adding in the butter was what solved it for me in the coffee season. So you've got both in there. You could just try it with that one, or if you're putting in 2 spoonfuls, go to 1 and then go to half of 1, and then see if you can cut it out from that as well. Yeah, there's cutting out chocolate, keeping in fruit. I reckon, look, if it doesn't upset your stomach, then why not keep it in? I'm a big fan of Dr. Ben Bickman, and he talks a lot about, and it's something I want to talk about more as well. He talks about the relationship between insulin and glucose, and how he wrote the book Why We Get Sick, which I've mentioned before, and just general metabolic health. And so I look at it through that lens, and I'm going, okay, well, what can I eat that's not going to cause my any sort of insulin spike that's going to help me lower insulin resistance? And that seems to be the road to amazing health, from what I can see. And I think that if you tolerate fruit and it doesn't really, spike your blood sugar a great deal, or you're in good metabolic health, then it's probably just something you could keep in. If you really enjoy it, well, let's not get to the point where whatever we're eating is just not enjoyable. I think that's probably not going to work all that well. Tanya, is there a possibility your eyesight is getting better? It seems like my glasses are getting too strong. Yeah, I wish it was. I haven't found that there has been any difference, but I think that things like that, I'm 52, so my understanding when I went to the eye doctor was that the retina, or the lens in your eye, the cells that make up that gradually do get stiffer with age. Although, like anything, I hear that and I go, well, you know what? I reckon anything's possible. You can cure anything. So I haven't noticed any huge difference. Now, having said that, I sit about this far. Where's my camera? This far from my monitor, right? And it's sharp as, but I'm long-sighted. It's just when I get in the car and I've got to see a long distance that I need glasses. So I haven't found that that's any better. But looking at my screen now, everything looks nice and sharp, and it was a little bit blurry if I think back like a couple of months ago. So maybe there's some improvement happening there. It'd be super cool if I could actually reverse that. I mean, how amazing would that be if I could go to where I don't actually need glasses and I could put that all down to my diet? That would be just amazing. Natalie can't stand liver. Oh yeah, okay. Tablespoon split between 2 cups. That makes more sense because I was thinking like plonking a tablespoon of butter. That's a pretty decent serving of butter in a cup of coffee. Oh, okay, yeah. All right, nice joke. Let's you got me. That's a bit of it. That's almost a dad joke, that one. Now, yeah. So I'm going to challenge you on that one, Kitty, as to where the research is, because I've and as always, I love to see evidence, and I'm pretty sure that Dr. Bickman in his in their lab that they've actually done this a number of times, and they have found in people with normal kidney function, normal liver function, there was zero insulin response. It was like as if they'd had fat. It's not to say that there isn't some sort of mental response, but yeah, I'm always open to seeing new evidence for sure. You can't afford affordable sugar-free bacon near you. That's so weird. It's like in Australia here, we don't even have. Well, no, we do actually. The bacon that you buy from Aldi definitely doesn't have any sugar in it because it's not sweet. But I did buy some from Coles when Aldi had run out, and it was awful. Obviously it had sugar in it, but it just didn't. I thought, why would you even do that? That's just crazy. So, yeah, maybe you could order it online, so you don't have to go to the shops. Maybe you might have to buy it in a bit of bulk. But that, yeah, I'm a bit sad for you because I love bacon. Yeah, once again, don't know that one. I'm always interested in whether that's the case. I guess as a blanket rule, they use it so much in Japan, they have a declining birth rate. In fact, their population's going backwards. So I'm purely speculating. Maybe that's got something to do with that. There we go. Costco, sugar-free bacon. Thanks for that. Don't put yourself in timeout. We like your feedback. Okay, Natalie. What's the difference between processed sugars? There is, yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's everybody's body is individual. It's like what everybody likes to do, what everybody likes to eat is purely individual. There's some, we're applying fairly broad strokes to a particular way of eating lifestyle with carnivore, but then I think it's fine to be fanatic in I love people who are really passionate about what they do, and I tend to be sort of one in, all in. I don't just sort of put my toe in the water. I tend to jump in feet first, and sometimes that drives my wife crazy. But that's just how I like to do things, and and for some there's a sort of more of a middle ground, and I think that's okay as well. You just got to do what works for you. The key thing is if your health is improving, you're feeling better mentally, physically. I mean, like I say, everybody deserves to have a body that can move in the world that's completely free of restriction. Deserves to have a feeling of being positive, a good mental health. Everybody deserves that, no matter what age you are. And if what you're doing is supporting that, then just keep on doing it, I think. Yeah, interesting. I'm super enthusiastic with the idea that you can reverse a lot of conditions especially that are associated with age. I've had a few. I've mentioned before. I have this repetitive. Well, it's the old word for it is RSI, so repetitive strain injury, which I've had since I was 20. So it means I get pain in the wrists and forearms from using the keyboard and mouse. Some people have suggested a roller mouse. I did try one of those once, and so far the only thing that helps is to abstain. Is just to not use the keyboard and mouse much at all. And I've still had my fingers crossed that just sticking with carnivore will in the long term help that, and that somehow I'll be able to reverse that condition without having to just continually restrict what I do on a computer. So I'm holding out hope for that. And I feel like, well, it took a long time for it to develop, so it's probably going to take a long time to reverse it. And yeah, that's having better eyesight might be on the same sort of idea as well. Okay, so did we get enough here? Let's scroll down a little bit. Yeah, it's good to know your eyesight's improved, Tracy. Lots of ideas on here. So these are all brands I don't know, because I'm in Australia. Now, Uncle Harry Sopranos and Professor Bart K talk about stevia affecting insulin. All right, well that's great. I'm gonna check those out. Thanks for that. Okay. Yeah, carpal tunnel syndrome. It's got a lot of different names. That's the one that seems to be most common. Yeah, that's same here, Andre. So irritable bowel. I didn't even know I had an irritable bowel. I just thought I was just someone who got the runs and constipation and fairly regularly. I thought that was pretty normal. But that's really cool too. It just gone, and yep, same thing with the gums. So I still get food stuck in my gums, but there's zero gum bleeding. And I found that also having an electric toothbrush really helped initially. But when I stopped with the, almost got to zero carbohydrates, just gone. And body odor also. I thought that was a myth actually, but yeah, that's gone as well. Don't have to. My wife still doesn't believe me. It's okay. We'll do the sniff test next time we're together. See if it's actually true. So my mum actually had surgery as well. So she had to have that because I grew up on a farm and milking cows, right? And just general outdoor work. So my mum had both hands done. She had surgery done. Did that actually cure you, Susan? Did you have to do anything else? I'm interested because I've thought about that, and I'm just not that keen on being out of commission for a month. Yeah, maybe someone can help out with that one. What you can do is if you use Google, if you use the term YouTube, Carnivore Dr. Mesa, Arizona, then Google's pretty good at searching through the transcripts of the videos as well. And you might find something was mentioned in a video and that might help. And, there's obviously forums as well, but yeah, you could give that a try. Google's your friend with that one. Yeah, got better. Excellent. Is it still something, would you say it's completely cured, Susan, or is it still something you have to deal with? I'm interested to know. All right, well, I can't believe an hour's almost gone. And I'm, once again, very grateful for everyone for being part of the channel. I appreciate your support. I appreciate all the regulars tuning in. I will keep on churning out the video content. I'm just looking at it as I'm just living my life and just recording what I'm doing, and hopefully that is of some benefit to the rest of you as well. I appreciate being part of this community. It's a very nice group of people. So thank you to all of you who are supporting what I'm doing, and hopefully I can support you in the same way back as well with your journey too. So I'm going to wrap it up in a couple of minutes, and yeah, so got better. Yes. All right. Well, I'm definitely going to look into it. I shy away from surgical interventions when it comes to the carpal tunnel syndrome, and yeah, but I'm going to investigate more. If there's a physical thing that it could be solved, then I guess I need to look at it a bit more seriously than what I have done. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Love to you all. Thanks very much for your support once again. I'll be tuning in whether I've got a guest or not, same time next week, every week until forever, I guess. I don't have any plans to stop. We'll talk to you guys all soon. Look at that. My wife's calling me right now. Bye for now.